effectively. Now, why would an author, a creator, an artist ever mark freedoms with their creative work? Well, one set of reasons are that it just helps. It helps the creator achieve what the creator wants to achieve. So, for example, if you're an academic, a scholar, and you write creative works, you obviously are interested in other people sharing your work because what you want is others to copy and to spread your work, and copying and spread your work helps you achieve your objective as a scholar, that your work gets known. Or second, think about this example. There's a South African research program called the Human Sciences Research Program. It has about 250 researchers in 12 different programs. They're in the business of selling books. Originally, that was their business. They produced reports that they sold. In 2001, they decided to stop this project of selling books, and they decided to give away all their books for free electronically. So anybody could download whatever song they wanted from, whatever book they wanted from the site. But in addition to the free download, they would give people the opportunity to buy a book print on demand. So remember, before everything was sold, now everything is free and there's an option to buy the book if you want. After 4 years, they evaluated what happened to sales. Did sales go up or did sales go down? When it went from a world where everything had to be bought to a world where buying was just an option. What they discovered was that sales had gone up in 4 years by 300%. For the obvious reason that people are unlikely to buy a book from South African Research Center without understanding it, by making it freely available. More people could see the work and discover that this is a work they would like, and then buy the book that makes it easy for them to consume the work. So the Creative Commons license in that context also helps the business model of the underlying research center. Or think about this example just coming out of Japan. iBio is the Sony equivalent of YouTube, which increasingly is involving people in the process of creating and sharing their creativity. And when that creativity is uploaded, the upload process requires that you certify Creative Commons licenses attached to the content to clarify and to remind the creator of the rights and the freedoms that that sharing entails. Once again, the Creative Commons license is helping Sony achieve its business model. So in those cases, people use the license because the license helps them do what they want to do. But sometimes people use the license and insist that others use the license because they believe using such a license is right. Sometimes because they believe they're under an obligation to share their work, and the license is a simple way to enable that sharing. Think, for example, about a scientist. The scientist's obligation is not just to produce new knowledge. The scientist's obligation is to produce universal access to their knowledge, to produce knowledge that's accessible, just as accessible in Africa as it is at Harvard University in the United States. And the only way to do that today is to make sure that the work is free of unnecessary burdens from publishing restrictions, and Creative Commons license enables that by signaling the freedoms that run with the work. And the Science Commons Project, something that my colleague Joe Ito will talk more about, is devoted to helping make sure that knowledge in the context of science can spread like that. So sometimes it's because of the view that sharing is required, and sometimes it's the view that this sharing expresses a kind of activism, that it's a way to give others the freedom that the creator himself wants and helps to build a norm supporting this freedom. That, for example, is the motivation of one of our most recent artists, very important artists in the Creative Commons world, Girl Talk, whose whole form of creativity is taking other songs and remixing them together to create something new. Girl Talk's latest album is available online. You name your price and you download it. But everything you download, you have a right, a CC right to remix, so that you can express the same kind of creativity that Girl Talk does with the freedoms that Girl Talk wishes the world would guarantee to him. Because Girl Talk, of course, has not yet been certified as a legal creator. His creativity, many people think, is illegal. Girl Talk in the United States is a crime. And he tries to create a world where it's not a crime by practicing the freedom he believes others should be giving to him, because he believes this kind of freedom is right. Now, in the 5 years since we launched Creative Commons, this December it will be 6 years. We launched it in December 2002. Creative Commons has gone through a number of stages. We can think of CC version 1 with the ideals of Creative Commons. First, to spread Creative Commons internationally as broadly as we could. And in this map, which reflects the world as of today, with Hong Kong added to our jurisdictions, the green countries are countries that have launched Creative Commons licenses. The yellow countries we hope will launch in the next 6 months. The red countries are countries we have yet to infiltrate in this process of spreading freedom. After today, we will have a total of 50 countries that have launched Creative Commons licenses. And as countries launch the licenses, we have an extraordinary increase in the growth of objects on the web that are free for people to share and build upon. Now probably around 140 million objects that are available under Creative Commons licenses. Now just last year in this project, we had extraordinarily important milestones. For example, MIT in the United States has made available all of their courses, and by the end of last year, every single one of their courses is available free online under a Creative Commons license for universities or people anywhere in the world to download and use to learn the material or to adapt the material to their own educational environment. This extraordinary device, the One Laptop Per Child device, has built within it the core elements to make it possible to mark any object with Creative Commons licenses and to facilitate the sharing of those objects. Last year we launched a project around education called CC Learn that will devote exactly the same kind of approach that we've adopted to the context of education. We released last year a language that helps express in computer form the rights and freedoms associated with the content. YouTube began to adopt Creative Commons music in an effort to substitute out copyright infringing music for music that could be shared legally on YouTube videos. TypePad has formally embedded the CC licenses into their architecture. iBio, I've already described, has built it into their architecture. Even OpenOffice now has followed the model set by Microsoft by building CC licenses into their architecture. And Science Commons, of course, has had an enormous explosion in penetration and projects that make it easier for scientists to share their work. We celebrated last year with an extraordinary concert sponsored by Spoon, sponsored by Wired of Spoon, celebrating music that could be shared freely, his own music included. The TED Talks, which have become worldwide source for extraordinary lectures, are all circulated now under Creative Commons licenses, as are PopTech Talks. And Wikipedia is, I promise, 1 inch away from relicensing their works under Creative Commons licenses. Current TV, one of the most important new cable television channels in the United States, has now adopted Creative Commons licenses for an important set of their creativity. All of that accomplishments were completed last year. This year, 9 Inch Nails has released their most recent album under Creative Commons licenses. Google's Picasa has followed Flickr in embedding Creative Commons licenses into their architecture. And I think one of the most extraordinary new companies to facilitate photo sharing, Photonauts, is built all its core architecture around the idea of sharing built into Creative Commons licenses. CC has been part of the presidential campaigns. Obama ran the Obama Move On Support, ran a 30-second Obama campaign for people to create videos that express the idea of Barack Obama's candidacy in 30 seconds. That's after a campaign that they ran 4 years ago that produced this winning video. The best piece of political speech that I saw that year.